Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of UnPontificated. My name is Vuyo, and I'm excited. The election in Canada is happening. The writ is dropped, and we will be going to the polls on April 28th, 2025, and let the campaigning begin. I mean, it's really just a two-man race. We're actually looking at Mark Carney of the Liberals and Pierre Poilievre of the Conservatives. And I'm going to be just open with you guys right now. I will be voting for Pierre Poilievre. I have no interest whatsoever in voting for the Liberals. And I've really had enough of them. I think they have ruined this country. And it is good that Justin Trudeau is gone. I was thinking of a Bible verse. I want to read you guys a Bible verse. I have it here on my phone. It is from Proverbs 29, verse 2. And it says, "When the righteous increase, the people rejoice. But when the wicked rule, the people groan." And we've been groaning here in Canada for a long time now. On a personal note, I've been groaning really since 2013 when Justin Trudeau was elected as the leader of the Liberal Party. One of the first things that he did was say that no one can run for the Liberal Party unless they were pro-choice. Now, I was actually quite stunned by that proclamation that you had to be okay with a woman killing her baby in the womb for you to run for the Liberal Party. He was not going to give anyone freedom of conscience to decide for themselves before running for the Liberals. You had to be pro-choice, and I thought that was absolutely stunning, and that produced a big groan from me. And then, of course, he was elected as Prime Minister in 2015. Sunny ways, sunny ways. And one of his campaign promises was that he's going to run a small deficit. I think it was $10 billion that he was going to run. And in the last budget that Chrystia Freeland was going to table, that she didn't table because she resigned, was going to have a projected deficit of $42 billion. So, I mean, there's so much that just made me groan that Justin Trudeau was doing. The other thing that there were so many things that just made me groan that Justin Trudeau was doing. Even his cabinet was not based on merit. He just wanted to force equity and gender parity in his cabinet. So he had half and half females, half males. And so he was very much a feminist. He has said he is a feminist. And even, you remember the clip of when a young lady was asking him a question and she talked about mankind. And he said, "Oh, we don't say mankind anymore. We say people kind." Oh, you can go find that clip. I'm not going to show it. It's just hilarious. But this is Justin Trudeau. This is what he was all about. I mean, and there's so much more that Justin Trudeau did to destroy this country. I mean, with the immigration, the amount of immigration that he brought into the country. No, the housing prices just skyrocketed because there was not enough housing to house them. Of course, the 10 cities have just skyrocketed as well in all major cities, from Halifax to Vancouver. And of course, the very famous carbon tax that he introduced in 2019 that raised gas prices. Of course, you raise gas prices, food prices go up as well. And so I could go on. I mean, we're the worst country in the GDP per capita ratio in the G7, just terrible. So there's so much that Trudeau has done. But anyway, Trudeau is gone, and now we have Mark Carney. And is Mark Carney any different from Justin Trudeau? In my view, no. Guys, you do not want to elect Mark Carney. Mark Carney was one of Trudeau's advisors for COVID, one of his advisors for his government. he is not a stranger to political life at all. And so for him to say that he is, an outsider, he is not. But don't listen to me. I've got 3 clips here that I want to kind of share with you guys. And some people talking about how they feel about Mark Carney.
So the legislation is still there. The regulations as to how to tweak it, how to put it together, how to flush it out is what has been amended here very temporarily. He hasn't said this is going to be permanent. He said he's going to pause it. It just means that the same old deadly, pernicious, costly carbon tax is going to be there. And one of the suggestions that he's made is, I will go after the consumer carbon tax so that people actually don't see it. It disappeared during the period of the campaign in the hopes that you and I vote for them, only to have it restored, not necessarily as a carbon tax for consumers, but as an industrial business carbon tax. In other words, impose the burden on business who will then promptly put it right back on our shoulders. For the Liberals, and for the NDP, it's a great scheme because then they can blame the oil companies for their price rise. But folks like me who have no affinity to the oil industry have taken them on will be very quickly point out that if people vote for Mark Carney and his friends in the NDP, they're basically voting themselves a restoration of those very damaging, very costly policies. And make no mistake, as I've heard the leader of the Conservative Party, who I'm not a member of, I've never contributed to, saying he's going to get rid of them. If Canadians want a stark choice in the next campaign, it's the guys who brought you pain, that's the Liberal and NDP, Greens, or the guys who are promising to get rid of it. And I sense that where most Canadians are is that it's not a necessary tax. It's based on CO2. I could never think of a more frivolous means by which we would want to tax anyone, much less make a couple of green grifters very happy and rich.
So, guys, that was Dan McTague. So he's a former Liberal MP. But so hear what he's saying, right? Mark Carney has said he's going to get rid of the consumer carbon tax. You saw that photo op that he did where he signed some piece of paper saying that something to that effect. It's not gone now, but he says he's going to get rid of it, or at least put a pause on it. Don't believe him. Even if he does do that and puts the tax on industry, like Dan McTague says, industry will then just pass the costs onto consumers. So it's just hiding it, right? So it's a trick. It's a trick, and I really hope that people get that message, that carbon tax message is still on, and don't get sidetracked by the fact that Donald Trump is threatening to annex Canada and trolling Canada. I think that's what's going on right now, and that's what Pierre Poilievre has to watch against, is that Canadians are focusing on Donald Trump. This has become a Donald Trump election. And so Pierre Poilievre does have to have messaging that deals with Donald Trump. And you did see that in his opening campaign message, that he is talking about Canada first. He is talking about Canada not being the 51st state. He is talking about dealing with Donald Trump and he being the best person to deal with Donald Trump. So I do see that he has changed his message or adjusted his message to deal with Donald Trump as well, because that's what Canadians are focused on. But I also believe or hope that Canadians don't take away as well from, or don't ignore the message about our kitchen table issues, housing prices, food prices, prices skyrocketing, because that's really what is going to be another, that issue still remains. It still remains. There's some other guys talking.
Know about and read even, especially the first couple and last couple of chapters. And I've got some questions about that maybe you can help me sort through. So one of the things that Mr. Carney says in his book, after outlining what he thinks Canadians' shared values are, which is a very dubious, what would you say? He makes a very dubious set of arguments, which for reasons that I'll go into, but one of his more remarkable claims is relevant to our discussion of these two legs. Okay, so we haven't done too badly on the resource and manufacturing side, even though that's dated. We need to maintain what we have there, and we need to develop this other attitude. But one of the things Carney says very forthrightly is that all of our financial institutions are going to have to be retooled in relationship to the catastrophe of climate change, and that 80% of the fossil fuels that are part of what fuels Canada's economy are going to have to stay in the ground. And so Carney is planning to continue the terrible pressure that Trudeau has put on Canada's traditional economy and to magnify that because he's a much more effective administrator and manager than Trudeau. And there's not anything in his book, not one word that deals with any of the things that you've discussed today. And so what we have in the spectacle of Carney is someone who thinks that the economy that we already have has to be replaced by some magical new economy that will somehow be both productive and clean, and who doesn't seem to be aware at all of any of the problems that you've described, conceptually or practically. He doesn't address the fact of Canada's failing productivity. It's as hollow and empty a book as I've ever had the misfortune to read. And so that seems to be, but the problem is, and this is maybe somewhat contrary to your proclamation that Trump's maneuvering has been counterproductive, is Canadians seem to be rallying behind the Liberals. They were cataclysmically low in the polls, and now they're at something approaching parity.
So that's an interview that Jordan Peterson is doing with Jim Balsillie. Remember Jim Balsillie of REM, Research in Motion, the BlackBerry fame back in the day. But you see there what Jordan Peterson, he's read the book. I have not read Mark Carney's book. He talks about Mark Carney and the climate change, green agenda. His wife is very much into climate policy as well, which is kind of scary. But these are guys who believe in an existential threat that climate change has on the earth. And so he believes, according to Jordan Peterson and according to his book, that 80% of our resource economy, of our resources, our fossil fuels, needs to stay in the ground. And guys, if you look at Canada's main export, our main export is energy. Over 60% of our exports to the US is energy. And that's the fossil fuels, electricity, natural gas is energy. The fact that we've put a constraint of put on all kinds of red tape on more drilling in the oil sands, and just making it hard for anyone to do anything as far as energy, any new energy drilling and prospecting, is impacting our economy. We are a resource-based economy, and the Liberals have just made it difficult. And this is to help us boost our GDP in that way. The way they've boosted the GDP is by just importing people. So anyway, Mark Carney, very much into the green economy. And again, this is the danger, guys, of electing Mark Carney. Nothing's going to change. He is Trudeau 2.0. And as Jordan Peterson said, he's a better administrator than Justin Trudeau. He's more organized. He's done better. He's certainly brighter than Justin Trudeau intellectually. So he's going to do a better job of being Justin Trudeau than Justin Trudeau was. He's a scary dude. One more.
So it looks like Poilievre will have a big fight.
I think it'll be a tight election, but I think it will be, you watch what's going to happen in the rhetoric. Remember, this happened in the United States as well. The spread was less than 200 basis points.
Yeah.
And yet Trump won a sweep of all 7 swing states. And I kind of anticipate the same thing in Canada. The key to make sure, and I'll be working hard on it along with others, is to paint Carney in the paint that he is, the color he is. He is Trudeau 2.0. There's no question about it. His policies will be bone crushing for Canada. He's doubling down on carbon tax, shifting it away from the consumer and killing business. His policies of regulating infrastructure investment, same thing. When you have Gerald Butts involved, who is hell-bent on changing Canada into a green utopia, you know that we'll continue to decline in the G7. We are already at the bottom. We can't get worse, but if we elect Carney, we could probably do better than just losing 41% of the dollar. We could lose 50, 60% of the value of the dollar. And that's the key, to paint him for what he is. He's dangerous, he's risky, and he's Trudeau all over again.
Yeah.
That's Kevin O'Leary, and he knows money. And you just heard there what he said. Mark Carney is dangerous. We're already at the bottom of the G7 countries economically, and we can't get any worse. We need to get better. And if you elect Mark Carney, we've already down to what, 69% on the dollar, and it could get worse. The value of the Canadian dollar to the US. So, guys, I will not be electing Mark Carney. I will not be voting for Mark Carney, and I will be voting for Pierre Poilievre. I don't know that Pierre Poilievre is what he's going to do for the country, but I do believe it'll be different. He says he's going to get rid of all the carbon tax. I believe him, and we will hold him to account to see if he does do that. He says he's the one who can stand up to Donald Trump. Okay, great. But what I need to see from you, Pierre, is we need to diversify our exports to different countries. Yes, the US is the largest consumer of goods out there. They're rich, they like things. So it's great that we're so next door to them. But the problem is when you have an issue like we're about to have on April 2nd, we're supposed to have more tariffs instituted on us by Donald Trump. We'll see what happens. But when we don't have more diversification, then we're in trouble. So let's see that. The other thing I want to see is I want to see some other MPs behind him. You know, MPs that are going to be part of his cabinet. So he can showcase some of his MPs as being, you know, smart, able, kind of showing that he can form a government of good people. Let's see that. You know, showcase some of your other MPs. I like the fact that he's now showcasing how he can deal with Donald Trump, but I think it'll be good for him not to abandon the carbon tax message. It's still there because prices are still high. And also highlight the fact that the carbon tax is not gone and Carney is not going to get rid of it. Anyway, guys, tell me what you think. I'd appreciate that. Put a comment in the comments. I appreciate all your comments. On my last video, there was some misunderstandings. People thought I was for Mark Carney. And so I got some messages from people on the right. They were like, hey, this is terrible. Anyway, I want messages. That's good. Comment from everybody. Agree, disagree. That's all awesome. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys again. Bye-bye.